Just imagine a world where you will hold your entire future in the palm of your hand, when a tiny glowing crystal will guide you through an existence in which each day is more wonderful than the last, where it will be possible for you to obtain the fulfillment of every fantasy, the satisfaction of every vanity, the absolute attainment of every wish.
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer presents the Saul David production of Logan's Run. A fantastic journey through a world beyond imagination.
What's up, everyone, and welcome back to Nostalgia 100. I'm your boy Jonathan, and today we are talking about an old movie from the 1970s, Logan's Run. Alright, I want to talk about this movie. This is a movie that I should have seen as a kid, and I knew about it as a kid. I would hear like my uncle talk about it with his brother, and I'd hear other people talk about it. But every time I would go to watch it, I would see the costumes and the way it looked, and I was like, no, I can't do that. I cannot watch that movie. I don't know why I did that accent, but I cannot watch that movie. I can't do it. Nah, I'm out. Nah, fuck all y'all. I will not watch something that looks that cheesy and corny. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And but it was always on my list of movies that I was ashamed to admit I've never seen. And then last year, I was like, I just turned 29, and I was like, all right, man, I know the movie's about dying when you're 30. I gotta watch it. So I bit the bullet and I watched it, and I loved it. I fell hard in love with this movie. And part of the reason is just like, it's so well written. The costumes are corny, but the movie itself is great. Like, it shows, it's kind of the Star Trek thing where the world becomes doom and despair. And then from the ashes of ruin, we build greatness. But then behind every great society, there are dark, dark secrets. So the premise, if you don't know, is that the world is destroyed in a nuclear holocaust, and some cities are built in domes. And inside the domes, it's like paradise. Everything you could want, have is there. You live the perfect life until you're 30. And then when you're 30, you go in the carousel, and some people are chosen to be reborn, and some people die. And it's a lottery, and you don't know who survived and who was reborn and who died. You just don't know. And there are some people who are like, seems fishy to me, I'm gonna just run. And they're called runners. And then there's people that are kind of the cops, they're called the Sandmen, and their job is to track them down and kill them. And so the movie follows this guy Logan. He's a Sandman, and he kind of falls for a runner and decides to run. And they flee the dome cities and see that the world outside has survived and that it's thriving. Like, civilization hasn't really thrived, but life, plants, animals, all that. And there are people out there in the world who have fled from what we know. And it's very much just, I love it because it talks about how propaganda, this is what I saw from it. And maybe this is my worldview. Maybe you watch and you see something else. But how we live our lives behind this notion of propaganda. We know what we see what we see, and then we listen to what we're told, and we let what we're told inform what we see. They're told the outside world is destruction. This is paradise. This is rebirth, and it's their civil duty, and they just buy into it. And even when they're being confronted with the reality that everything they're told is a lie, they still resist the urge to accept what the outside world is. And I think more now than ever before, this is the type of story that people need to see. Because so many people, especially with the way the internet works, with algorithms and all that, it spoon feeds you what you're looking for. If you're into this, it gives you this. And it gives you more and more and more of this, reaffirming what you believe until it looks like the whole world agrees with you except for these few lunatics over here. When that's not the case. There's a whole wide spectrum of people who disagree with you for numerous different reasons. And not everything fits into a nice little narrative, but people like to act like it does. And this movie, it talks about that. It illustrates it. It shows that the world is not as black and white. And you want a good existence for 30 years? Live in a dome city. But But it covers the same kind of plot as season 4 of Angel. You can have paradise, you can have the perfect world where everyone is happy and everything is perfect, but it comes at the cost of freedom and death. Because the only reason they have the resources to support everybody is because everybody dies at 30. It's population control at its finest. And no one gets old and infirm because they're dead before they get a chance. It really makes you take a step back and question what you're told and what you know is right and wrong. Maybe what you think is right is only right because it's what's been presented to you as right. And maybe it's not right. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe other people's opinion, even people who you think are dissenters and anarchists, maybe they're right. I mean, because in this movie, the anarchists, they just want to live past 30. That's not a crazy notion. But they're looked upon as troublemakers and ruining order and evil. And it's like, well, they're not. The government's killing people, and they don't want to be murdered by the government. It's such a great story when you boil it down to it. And the fact of, it goes to something that the 60s was all about, and somewhere along the line we seem to have lost, which is question everything. No matter what I or your parents or your teachers or your politicians or your religious leaders or anybody tell you, question it. I'm not saying be rude or disrespectful. I'm not even saying you have to confront them. But just question it. Look into it for yourself. And that's something that this society doesn't do anymore. I read somewhere that said like the mark of a decaying society is when it teaches its people to be intelligent enough to learn, but not intelligent enough to question why. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at. Everybody first of all thinks they know everything. And when you question their belief or you question their view on something, and I'm not even talking religion, I'm talking anything, they lose their shit. And it's really just like, what happened to question everything? Why do you believe something just because someone else told you? You should look into it for yourself. And I feel like this movie is very much about that. About not going with what society tells you is right just because society tells you it's right. That you should investigate it on your own because maybe it's wrong. Maybe that isn't the right thing to do. I don't know. That's what I get from the movie. And I love the movie. There's also a TV show you guys should check out. But I don't know. These are just my thoughts on it, and I really think you guys should watch it, especially before you're 30. But I'm Jonathan. This is Nostalgia 100. Give us legends.